Today I'll be continuing with my schedule discussion and point spread prediction videos. Today I'll be doing Cincinnati. So Cincinnati's move to the Power Five last year did not go well at all. They had been one of the best group of five teams for the last couple of years that they were in the group of five. But when they made the move to the Big 12 last year, they finished 3-9 and only getting one conference win, and that coming against a team that was also new to the Power Five, and they were the worst team in the conference last year, and they'll probably be one of the three worst teams in the conference this year. They could possibly even be the worst team in the Big 12 again. Their offense was not very good at all, scoring just over 24 points a game on average, and their defense was terrible, uh, giving up an average of 30 points a game, which ranked in the 100s, and there were 130 something teams in Division One. Really, the only impressive thing they did uh, last year was how their defense played against Oklahoma's offense that was led by Dylan Gabriel, who uh, was an elite quarterback for them. They held them to only 20 points, but pretty much other than that, their defense was bad and their offense never looked good at all. Uh, and so a quarterback was a disaster for them last year, and probably will be again this year. Uh, and the schedule, though, did somewhat work out well for them, being able to avoid Utah and Oklahoma State, who are expected to be the top two teams in the conference this year. Uh, and so they start the season against Towson in the non-conference. That I think will be their one given win for the season. They should have no problem beating Towson. It should be a blowout. And then they play Pittsburgh for their Power Four opponent in the non-conference. They played them last year and actually beat them. Uh, Pittsburgh was even worse than Cincinnati was last year, uh, and they do get them at home this time, so that's one that maybe Cincinnati could win. But Pittsburgh usually in the past has been better than Cincinnati was last year and is expected to be this year. They have, I think, one of the worst rosters in the Big 12 again. Cincinnati does. And then they play Miami, Ohio on the road. They're not Power Four, but they're not FCS. And actually, Cincinnati lost to Miami, Ohio last year in overtime at home, and now it's on the road. And Cincinnati probably won't be really any better than they were last year. So I think this is a 50-50 game. Cincinnati could I think, easily lose this game again. Uh, Miami, Ohio isn't terrible. And then they play Houston to start their conference schedule. That's a nice start to it. Houston is the one team in the conference that Cincinnati was able to beat last year. And it's nice to get them at home. And Houston, for a while, I thought they might have a decent team this year, looking through their roster, but they ended up losing pretty much all of their really good players from last season. So now I don't really think Houston is going to be very good. I think Cincinnati will have a good chance to win that game again. Uh, and then on the road at Texas Tech, I think Texas Tech is going to be much better than Cincinnati is going to be. So, and it's on the road. looks like a likely loss right now for Cincinnati to me. And then they get a week off in between uh, Texas Tech and Central Florida, both on the road. So that is good to get a week off in between. But Central Florida may be better than Texas Tech this year. They're going to be able to run the ball really well, and they should be better at quarterback this year. And uh, they've brought in uh, quite a few good players on defense from the portal. Don't see much of a chance for Cincinnati in this one. Uh, and then they play Arizona State at home. This is one that Cincinnati will have a really good chance to get a win in. Arizona State is the one team that I think actually probably will be worse than Cincinnati this year in the conference. And it's nice to get that one at home. And then next they play Colorado, the Clown Show, on the road. So that is nice to get Arizona State and Colorado in a row like that because those two teams with Cincinnati, I think, will be the teams trying to avoid finishing last in the conference this year. They'll be the three worst teams most likely. Uh, it would have been better to have gotten to play Colorado at home, obviously, uh, but Colorado's lines of scrimmage, I think, will be about the worst in the country again. And they have no good coaching at all. Coach Prime has no idea what he's doing, uh, and they shouldn't, I don't think, be able to run the ball again either. Uh, mm, so I would like Cincinnati's chances to get a win here, but uh, right now, I don't even really think Cincinnati will even be as good overall as the Colorado Clown Show. Uh, and then they take a week off before West Virginia at home. Uh, Probably isn't going to help them. West Virginia has quite a bit coming back from a 9-win team last year. And they're going to be able to run the ball really well. Uh, so I don't think Cincinnati can win this one. Really, it's not like they would have zero chance, but it wouldn't be much more than that. And then Iowa State on the road, and then Kansas State on the road after that. They're probably going to be 0-2 in those two games. That's a terrible two in a row there. Iowa State is a very tough place to play, especially for a team like Cincinnati, and so is Kansas State. Kansas State mm, mm, is going to be one of the best rushing teams in the country this year. I don't really know how well they'll be able to throw the ball. I wasn't real impressed with the new quarterback in the bowl game as a passer, but that's not going to matter, I don't think, for them being able to beat a team like Cincinnati, because Kansas State also has a lot coming back on defense this year too that are good players, and uh, uh, Kansas State is a much better coach team than Cincinnati is. And then Iowa State, I saw leads the Big 12 in returning production this year, and they won four more games last year than Cincinnati did. Uh, and then TCU to end the season at home. Uh, I think they'll probably lose this one too. Wouldn't be like there would be no hope at all. But at TCU, it usually is better than what they were last year when they only won 5 games. And they'll probably be at least a little bit better this year. I don't think they'll be that good. So now I'll move on to the point spread prediction. So games in the green are games where I think that Cincinnati will be favored to win by a blowout, and that's 20 or more points. And there's one of those at Paulson. Games in the pink are games where I think they'll be favored to win by about a field goal. So that is 1 to 5 points. And There's three of those: Pittsburgh, Miami, Ohio, and Arizona State. Uh, Games in the gray or games where I think Cincinnati will be about a field goal underdog. So 1 to 5 points, and there's three of those: Houston, Colorado, and TCU. Games in the yellow or games where I think that Cincinnati will be an underdog by about a touchdown, so 6 to 9 points, and there's four of those: Texas Tech, Central Florida, West Virginia, and Iowa State. And then games in the orange are games where I think they'll be an underdog by double digits, but not a blowout spread, so 10 to 19 points. And there's one of those: Kansas State. Toss, and Cincinnati should be favored in that one by like 30 points. And then Pittsburgh, uh, because it's at home, I think Cincinnati may be favored by a point or two, but I think they would be an underdog on the road. And then Miami, Ohio, that's a tough one. I could see it being a toss-up, or even Cincinnati being an underdog in this game, because they did lose that game last year. But I think Cincinnati will probably be favored by around three in this one, because they are supposed to be better than Miami, Ohio. Uh, and then Arizona State, I think Cincinnati will be favored by a couple of points, probably two or three in this one, because it's a home game. I think Arizona State would be the favorite though on the road. Um, and mm, Houston. Uh, I think Cincinnati will still be an underdog by probably just like a point in this one, even though it is a home game. But that is one that could possibly end up being in the pink when it comes time for it. Uh, and then Colorado, I think Cincinnati will be an underdog by probably around three in this one. And then they'll be an underdog, I think, by probably like 4 or 5 against TCU. And Texas Tech in Central Florida. I think they'll be the underdog in both of those by around 6 points. Those would probably be in the gray, though, if they were home games. And West Virginia, the spread in that one will probably be like 9 points. Mm, and Iowa State, the spread will probably be like 7 points. And uh, uh, Kansas State, the spread in that one will be like 2 touchdowns, I think, probably like 14 uh, points. Cincinnati will have to pull off a couple of upsets to get to a bowl game, which I think is very unlikely. Uh, mm, but that will be it with this video. Please subscribe, and thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.